Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to another Cruise Control Live here with me, Bill Panoff, yours truly, and we're super excited today to have an amazing host, and this gentleman actually has revolutionized cruising as it relates to his content on YouTube and other platforms, none other than Gary Bembridge, creator of Tips for Traveler. Did you know that Gary has been on 95 cruises? 95 cruises, that is amazing. But his content that he puts out is so compelling, and the way he tells a story is just so engaging. And it's really a pleasure to have Gary here. And we're going to bring him in right now and say hello in living color. And here he is. Gary, how are you?
I'm very good, Bill. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to have you on the show. We did this a few months ago, I think, during COVID, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did an Instagram thing. I think it was at that time or something. Yeah.
So you've been on 90 cruises. What was your first, Gary?
My very first cruise was on. I was kind of an accidental cruise, if you like. I was on the P&O Aurora, and I was asked every year. This company called Richmond Events would sponsor. They're a charter, so they charter a ship, and they'd run like a marketing conference on. And I was then the marketing director of Johnson & Johnson in the UK, and they asked me to go and give a talk. I can't even remember what the talk was about. So that was my very first cruise. It was a 2-nighter weekend thing. I went sort of begrudgingly, like, oh, I'll go and see what this cruising malarkey is like. And now here we are, some years later, 95 cruises and completely addicted. And my life is now cruising with my channel and stuff now.
So before cruising, before all this came into your life, what was your life like pre-cruise?
I mean, pre-cruise, I probably was like everybody thought, well, cruising's not for me. It's like, all those stereotypes. So it was mostly kind of beach holiday, resort holiday kind of stuff. Yeah, so I would go to Mauritius or South Africa or obviously into Europe because it's handy. But that was kind of what I did before in terms of vacation.
Right. In your blog post, you always touch upon the interaction you have with people on board. Is there one specific story that stands out, or one particular person or guest you met that has become a lifelong friend over the years?
But there's actually quite a few people that we've met. I mean. Probably, I'm trying to think which is the most memorable because there's so many of them. But there's I think probably the two is Diane and Rebecca. We met Diane and Rebecca on a Christmas Queen Mary 2 cruise years and years, years and years ago. I'm trying to think how long ago it was, and they just were at the table next to us in the restaurant, and we started chatting, and then we started chatting some more, and then we'd sort of bump into each other around the ship, and then we actually arranged the next year to go on the same cruise at the same time of the year with them. Then when they came to London to see something, we met up with them. We've seen them in New York. We've met up with them, and so we've just become really good friends. Over the years. They're probably the closest friends we've got. But there's many others I met, like on Oceania. Jim and Cami I've met. There's other people that we met. It's interesting. Like when I did more podcasting before videos, we met Sarah and Ben. They were sitting next to, in fact, also in Queen Mary 2, they were sitting at the table next to us. And I was just chatting to Mark, and we sort of hello as you do. And he went, oh my God, you're Gary Bembridge. You're the reason we're on the cruise. I recognize your voice.
There you go.
And he'd used my podcast to convince, at this time, his fiancée, Sarah. But now, they're now many years on. I mean, they've got 2 boys. Their boys are probably like 9 and 10 years old. And we've followed them all through their life and their career. So there's many of those kind of connections that have been over the years.
Because of your popularity, I imagine people want to sail with you. Is there an opportunity to sail with Gary Bembridge? How does that work?
But I've been asked, and you're right, when I go on cruises, loads and loads of people come up and say hello and stuff. And
sure.
I do, on my blog, I sort of mentioned where I'm going to be cruising. So people could sort of, they know if I'm going to be on a certain cruise. But I've been asked many, many times, will I do a group cruise? Will I do a group cruise? And I haven't done one, but I actually am looking at doing one. And I did a little survey actually recently amongst people. I thought, I'll just get a sense of the scale of interest. But I've had like 500 and something people so far have said they're interested in going on a group cruise. So it's like a bit mind-boggling. I'm not sure that all 500 would end up going, but so there's definitely a lot of interest. So at the moment it's more informal, like I'm going to be on this cruise. If you're there, say hello to me kind of thing. But I am sort of working towards doing more group cruises, which I may. I'm worried I'll live to regret it, but I'm definitely going to try it, yeah.
So I get to say, through Porthole Magazine and through being a cruise director over the years, people who have cruised with me before go, when are you cruising again? And I have never done it in an organized way either. So, but people are asking me, maybe, who knows, maybe we could do it together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would think loads of people would be interested, with the magazine and
Right,
knowing you and stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So you recently sailed on Celebrity's Edge. What was the highlight of that voyage?
I mean, probably the highlight was just getting to see, what celebrity are trying to do, because obviously, they're massively trying to make themselves much more modern, much more contemporary.
Uh-huh.
You know, you know, kind of almost leaving behind old celebrity. I mean, it's really telling because they've, all of the specialty restaurants have changed. They've ditched all those. They've ditched the main dining. So it's really, that was the highlight, was kind of just seeing kind of what they're trying to do. And in some ways it was interesting because it's sort of like a highlight and a low light. But I spotted a couple of people around the ship who were obviously die-hard old celebrity, looking a
Sure.
bit like, oh my God, what's happened to my celebrity? Because it is a very different experience. But just getting on the ship and experiencing the ship was the highlight. The second highlight was I had I had originally booked an aqua class cabin, but in the when cruising was first coming out of lockdown in the
Right,
UK, it was one of the first countries that started sailing,
right.
and they had had these sort of staycations, only UK passengers, only UK destinations, and so on. And Celebrity had Celebrity Silhouette, and at that time, no one wanted to cruise. It was dirt cheap, so I booked a retreat, suite and stuff. The problem was, having been spoiled by the retreat experience, I then upgraded from an aqua into retreat. So also seeing how on those new ships they're doing the retreat, which was amazing. It was pretty impressive what they're doing with that. I mean, obviously it's much more expensive. The whole line's more expensive. But just
Sure.
seeing a little bit where Celebrity's going, I think was the main highlight for me.
What do you admire the most about a cruise ship when you're first board? Is it the layout? Is it the architecture? Is it the overall guest experience? What really resonates with you?
But I probably look at, I mean, obviously I look at the ship and how it's different and what it's like. And I mean, obviously, as you cruise a lot, you also realize a lot of the ships are the same because they're this, the visitor class ships across
Sure.
multiple carnival things and so on. So I've really focused a lot on what are they doing that's different? What are they doing that's unique? What are they doing that's really them? That kind of sets them apart. And obviously, because I'm looking at that both as a cruiser, but also what can I be talking about in my videos and stuff. So I get very excited when I get on a ship and like on Holland America and I see like the music walk, because I think that's very interesting and very different. So I look for things kind of like that. That's what I really zero on. I know lots of people zero on food and stuff,
Right.
but all cruise lines, or many cruise lines have good food or good specialities. So it's that kind of stuff that I really focus on.
Is there one number one tip you can give guests before sailing on their first cruise that you have learned over the years that would make their experience a little more enjoyable?
Research, 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 I guess is probably the key one. I mean, uh, my sort of theory is, and again, because it happened to me and I've seen it with many other people, is, if you go on the right cruise line, you will be hooked. The people who don't like cruising, in my experience anyway, is people who went on the wrong cruise line. So it's about, just before you even book that first cruise, research, 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 make sure that you really understand what it is that you want, because there will be a cruise line kind of for you. Like, I'm not a big fan, say, for example, of P&O cruises, but I've been trying to get my sister-in-law for 20 years to go on a cruise.
Uh huh.
And even though I don't like P&O cruises, I knew she would love everything about P&O cruises. And I got her on that, and she absolutely loved it as her first cruise. She then didn't listen to me, and she booked a second cruise on MSC, which I knew she would absolutely hate, but she booked it because of price. She
Uh huh.
hated every minute of it. And that was my point to her, is like, you've got to really focus on what is it that you really want and make sure you go on that right cruise line. Don't get distracted by price or some special deal or something. So that's
Yeah.
probably the one thing I would say.
Some comments here. Dr. Brett Robotsky writes, "I dream about cruising with Bill Panoff." Well, there you go. That's the group cruise. I mean, we need to do that. Thank you, Brett. Wow. And Christian Chavez is one of our followers from Mexico. He wants to know, Gary, Antarctica or Alaska? Which would you pick?
Oh, Antarctica, without a
Antarctica.
shadow of a doubt. I mean, there's almost no comparing the two. I mean, Antarctica is in a league of its own. You know, Alaska is amazing. I mean, the downside of Antarctica is going to cost you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more than going to
Yeah,
Alaska. But
yeah.
if you're only going to do one, you know, Antarctica by far, absolutely.
Would you go back again, even though you've been there once? Is there
I've
a
actually been
limit?
there twice.
Oh,
I've
you've
been
been
to
there
Antarctica
twice.
twice,
And is it
and
different each time?
yeah, yes, it is for a couple of reasons. Bill, first of all, I went. The first time I went was at the end of the season, and the second time I went was at the beginning of the season, and
Uh-huh.
they were very different. So and also I when I went the second time, I went to South Georgia,
Oh, wow, beautiful.
and that for me was also a massive, you know, first of all, it was incredible experience, but it is gives you a very different perspective of the whole Antarctica because, of course, you know, you're seeing the 400,000 penguin
Right,
colony
right.
stuff and much more wildlife and you know. So I would go back. It's interesting because I planned quite far ahead, you know. So I was looking at my schedule, and I think I've got like a sometime in November 2023. And I was thinking, will I go back to Antarctica or should I do something else? But I would go back, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, you experienced, I'm sure, it's like, you, people always say to me, you come back from Antarctica like changed. I don't know what it is,
Yes,
but
you do. No, it stirs
it's
your
just
soul. Did you experience Drake
unbelievable.
Lake both times, or did you fly to the
Yes.
continent? Some of the cruise
Yeah,
lines
no,
will let you fly and you.
I would only, I mean, I'm a bit, I don't mind rough, well, touch wood, I don't mind rough seas. I've
Uh-huh.
never, none of those 95 cruises, I've never been seasick, probably a fatal thing to
No
say.
kidding.
But um, yeah, for me, that's part of the experience. I know people, like my partner won't go to Antarctica because won't go on Drake Lake. That, you know, he's just too worried about it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I quite like the experience. I know you were kind of nervous about it. And how did you get on with Drake Lake?
Yeah.
Did you have Lake or Shake? Because I
It
know
was
you were
fine
kind of,
for me. I mean, it was moderate. I
yeah,
mean, for me, I've been on many cruises, obviously working, and my family who was with me didn't respond as well as I did, but
right.
it moved. I mean, many cruises now are electing to take these cruises that where they fly you from Buenos Aires, Argentina, to the Shetland Islands. So you avoid
Yeah,
Drake's completely. I mean, that's
yeah,
another option.
yeah. Yeah, to me, it's part of the
I
experience.
agree with you,
Yeah,
100%, Gary.
yeah, it feels like cheating. It feels less of an adventure. I guess that's in the whole Drake passage is part of the experience. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
uncertainty, will it be rough? Won't it be rough? What's it like?
yeah.
Um, yeah, I love that part of it.
I remember the video you did on dressing for Antarctica, and I was happy enough to use. There was a company called uh, Ship to Shore, I think, or
Ship to shore.
so,
Yeah, I think it's called Ship to Shore. Yeah,
yeah, or something like that. But they provide all the gear, and the gear is actually waiting for you in your stateroom. It's an amazing service
exactly.
that
Yeah.
you can take advantage of. Yeah. Here we have a question. Any thoughts on what Princess will do with the Sphere class ships due out at the end of the year in 2025? As I haven't heard anything but very exciting news. Have you heard about
Yeah.
that?
I haven't really heard anything much more than they've been relatively coy, I guess, at the moment about talking about what's
Is
coming
there a
next.
cruise line, Gary, that you have not sailed on yet that you're yearning to sail on?
Well, interesting. I am. There is, and I'm doing it at the end of the week, which is on Disney. I've never been on a
Ah,
Disney cruise, and it is that is one line that, in fact, it's probably the most requested line for me to cover on my channel.
sure.
People have been asking for years to go. So Disney is you know, so that is the one. There are a few others like Hurtigruten I would like to try
Uh-huh,
because I
uh-huh.
do talk about it quite a lot, and you know, I've had a number of false starts. I've booked them and they've been cancelled. You know, as we were coming out of lockdown and stuff got cancelled and stuff. So I would like to do that, and the Norway one.
Sure, sure.
Um, and Star Clippers is another one to have that sort of experience.
I've
I've
done
never
Star
done it with a
Clipper.
single box.
That's quite unique. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and that's one I would like to try. I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What Disney ship are you going on?
the Magic,
Oh, the Magic.
with the
Nice. So
Magic.
it'll
Yeah,
be in Europe if I remember
yeah. So
correctly.
it's out of Dover.
Yeah.
It's out of the UK, so it's relatively handy, and going up to the Norwegian fjords.
Yeah.
And then I think it comes back, and then it's doing it's you know, repositioning back to the Caribbean. I think
Yeah,
after.
Disney is phenomenal. I've been on many times, and Disney doesn't look at their company as a cruise line. They refer to themselves as an entertainment company that happens to own some cruise ships.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So
I,
I mean, I have lots of reservations, but at the same time, I'm quite excited about it. And also, I knew a few people who'd gone on Wish. Did you go on Wish? I can't
I
remember.
did
Did you go
not
on
know.
Wish?
I had my
No.
colleague on Wish, and she loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's interesting because a lot of people in some of the research I was doing for Disney, a lot of the diehard Disneyers are like, "Oh, Wish, so many things wrong with Wish, and it's not Disney." And
Right.
people, quite only heard of people who hadn't been on Disney before who went on Wish and absolutely loved it. But
Right.
they were on one of the shakedown cruises, so they went on it wasn't full of normal passengers, so it's always
Right.
hard to
Right.
tell. But yeah, but I went on Magic because it was handy, it was here, and the timing worked. So
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Sure. Rally Creative Travel wants to know if you have any plans to cruise on the new Carnival celebration.
I haven't got any plans for that. No, no,
Okay.
I haven't got any carnival ones lined up. I do need to do carnival. I need, and particularly the new ships and stuff. I do need to do
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I
That
haven't
was
got
on the
any.
Mardi Gras. She was beautiful. I mean, very unlike the earlier Carnival ships. Just really in a class unto itself, and yeah, phenomenal. And the food was even better. So I was
Oh, okay,
a
that's good.
big
Yeah,
fan of Carnival.
because I
Let me
was
ask
in
you, an
carnival.
avid cruiser like you stays in so many different staterooms over the years. What is the absolute must for a stateroom or cabin to stand out for you?
I mean, I'm a massive balcony cabin person, so
Okay.
balcony, and that's why also come back to the discussion we started with Edge. That's why for me on Edge, I'm not a big fan of the infinite balconies because to me, I love a balcony, even though I don't really use a balcony. But for me, the balcony is the key. The other key, which is actually not necessarily cabin related, but I'm obsessed by noise. I hate hearing people, and so
Okay.
I'm one of these people that I always book my own cabin and never do a guaranteed, and always cabin above, cabin below, cabin either side, no interconnecting door, ideally cabin opposite, so I don't have a crew door banging outside there. So for me,
Uh-huh.
it's actually location is really critical for me. I know lots of people don't bother about it, but for me, it's really important. A balcony surrounded by all cabins, then I'm probably happy.
There you go. If you had to pick one itinerary, Gary, and what would your favorite itinerary be to sail on this year? One you haven't been on.
When I haven't been on, or my
When you
favorite,
have been on and want to go again, for example.
I mean, for me, Panama Canal is a thing that I absolutely love. The Panama
Right.
Canal. I'm a bit of a geek about the Panama Canal, and I would go. Someone said to me, "You can go in Panama Canal next week." I would go. I just find it absolutely fascinating. Just again, it's that sense of, like we talked about Antarctica, that sense of you feel like you're on this sort of something unique. And I mean, even though gazillions of people have done it, but it just feels incredibly special. And it also just it is quite remarkable what happens. So for me, that's probably one of my favorites. Because then also, you get a mix of the Caribbean and stuff as well. So
Sure.
sun and
Sure.
which is quite nice. And also because the Panama season tends to be when it's winter in Europe. So it's
Right.
also, you're kind of escaping the cold in Europe and you're going to Panama, you're doing the Panama Canal, you're doing the Caribbean. That's probably one of my favorite itineraries.
Do you tend to enjoy a smaller ship, slow pace, or something with more activities, a larger ship with a lot of things going on during the day?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, partly because I'm fortunate enough that I cruise a lot. If I'm cruising for myself, if you like, I like small ships. I really do like the small
Yeah.
ship
Yeah.
sort of experience, and partly because I like the small experience. Fewer people, less queues, more
Yeah.
attention, service,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But normally it's because the itinerary you're going to smaller, out of the way places, or you're going right into places like if you're going to doing a Mediterranean, you're going into the heart of Marseille, not at the dock, the port, 6 miles out of town or 10 miles out of town. But if I'm cruising like with my partner, kind of Mark, we would go more mid-sized ship because then, it's more of a vacation. I want to have a good casino and shows at night and, that sort of stuff. But I would always, my personal like is a small ship.
Small ship. What
Yeah.
is the longest itinerary you've ever been on, and would you consider doing a world cruise?
Uh, absolutely would do a world cruise. I mean, we were originally planning to do one, and then COVID came along and Mark changed his job, and so we haven't worked out when. The longest we've done in one sort of block is 7 weeks, which was actually a couple of legs of the world cruise
Uh-huh.
from Queen Victoria from Southampton to Sydney. We then got off, spent a week in Australia, then got on the Queen Elizabeth for 3 weeks. So it was sort of 10 weeks, but the longest, was 7 weeks, but it was
Right.
sort of a 10-week stretch. And absolutely, I mean, when we got to Sydney, the reason we swapped was we wanted to do Japan, which was Queen Elizabeth doing. But when we got to Sydney, we're like, I can't believe we're getting off here. I would just love to stay on the whole way back to Southampton. So yes, absolutely, we'll do a world cruise. Just trying to figure out which year it's going to be. But yeah,
Yeah, less and less cruises are doing them. Less and less cruise lines,
It-
obviously. But
yeah, it's more of a challenge, and they do. I mean, it's interesting because I remember years and years ago when I was sort of looking at them. Something like Queen Mary 2 or whatever, which was famous for world cruises. Even talking to the crew, 50, 60, 70% of the ship would be doing the full world cruise.
mhm.
I think when we were on Queen Victoria, there was maybe 10% were actually doing the whole thing. Some people were doing 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs. Like I can't remember what legs we did, but yeah, it's definitely become less of a thing.
Yeah. We have Fraser the Solo Traveler from the UK. Hi, guys. Good to
Oh,
see
hi,
you both.
Fraser.
Nice to see you, Fraser. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Gary,
He's a very
it's
good.
always a
He's a
pleasure
very
to
huge
chat
supporter
with
of the
you.
channel.
Say again?
Fraser's a huge supporter of the channel, and he's got a very interesting channel he's developing himself around solar cruising
Oh,
and stuff.
nice,
So,
nice. Okay. Yeah, I have a video I wanted to show you here of my yearning to go back on ships. I don't know if it doesn't get any better than that. Anyway, Gary, it's a pleasure chatting with you. Can you tell our viewers and listeners who are not familiar how they can find you online and YouTube and all the different social platforms?
yeah, so I mean, obviously, my biggest platform is on YouTube, and it's Tips for Travelers, 2 L's, UK spelling. So if you just go there, type Tips for Travelers, it should come up. Then, on Facebook, Tips for Travelers, but on Twitter, it's Gary Bembridge, Instagram's Gary Bembridge. But if you go to YouTube, find the channel, and then in the description of any video, there's all the other links there.
And you are really the leader on YouTube. I mean, you've revolutionized, cruise content on YouTube, really.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing. Like, I mean, even I think when we started talking, I think I had 5,000 subscribers or
Yeah,
something, and now I have 308,000 subscribers and
yeah.
nearly 4 million views a month, and it's just crazy. It's like sometimes I look at it and think this can't be right. It's like, but yeah,
Yeah.
it has been pretty amazing.
No, your honesty and just the way you present yourself and with the cruising is just phenomenal. And I applaud you. And hopefully we have a chance to chat again. I'd love to do this one day when you're actually on board the ship. We do like a YouTube live from the ship.
Brilliant. Yeah, that sounds
So
good.
thank you all, and thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe below to Cruise Control with Bill Panoff. And thank you again, Gary Bainbridge. And happy cruising, everyone. See you next time. Ciao.
Take care.